This is the new Porsche Cayenne. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, Matt, this doesn't look all that much different to the old Porsche Cayenne, but it is. All new bodywork, all new interior, all new technology. Now you might also be thinking, wait a minute, Matt, why are you wearing a charging cable around your neck? Well, that's to illustrate that this is the plug-in E-Hybrid version. And if you want economy, this is your only choice, because you can no longer get a diesel version of the Porsche Cayenne. So this E-Hybrid model, it starts from £67,000, but if you want to spend a bit less on your Porsche Cayenne, you can get a normal petrol-only version from £56,000. Now, if you click on the pop-out banner just up there in the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can go to CarWow to see how much money you can save on a new car through our new cars deal page. The first thing you notice when you climb inside this Porsche Cayenne is that it has a distinctive sporty feel for an SUV. So you've got this flat dash, also this big centre console which separates you from your passenger, and it's got this wraparound effect of the dials. It's got quite a steep rate windscreen as well, and it's kind of like you're in one of Porsche's 911 sports cars, only jacked up. You can actually get the seat nice and low to increase that sporty effect, although if you're small, of course, you can raise it all the way up and there's still plenty of room, and you can then get a good view out. You can also alter, look at this, the headrests, if you like to sit like that with bad posture. Put that back. Now, as standard, these seats have 8-way adjustment, but you can get them with 18-way adjustment. I mean, that's like car seat yoga. It's insane. Then there's a steering wheel, so this feels nice and sporty as well. Also, there's lots of adjustment in it, so I tell you can easily get a comfy position in this car. I also like the way that you've got the control for the different driving modes here on the steering wheel close to hand, so you're not having to look down there to change the mode, and yeah, it's dead easy to use. You can just flip through the different settings like that. This one also has the control for the heated steering wheel here as well. It's really cool. Then there's the buttons on the steering wheel. So the right band control the right side of this digital display, and you can go through different things like the sat nav, you can look at trip information and stuff like that. You've also got the clock there. The central display is actually mainly analog, and that's for the rev counter, and I like the way they've kept the rev counter analog. Then the left-sided buttons control the left side digital display here, and you've got all the information for stuff like your active cruise control. Then we come to the main infotainment screen, which is like some huge cinema screen right here in the dash. It's absolutely massive and it looks gorgeous. So to swipe through the different menus, it's all quite easy to do, and you can go through the different functions by going down the right hand side here. Actually, let's just go on to the navigation, because yeah, it's a really nice crisp display and it's responsive. One small problem I do have with it is that unlike the system you get in an Audi Q8 which vibrates when you press a button, it doesn't. So it's a bit hard to operate while you're driving and hit those small icons. Fortunately though, you have some shortcut buttons down here, and these do click and vibrate when you press them, so you know where you're going with them. Also, you can use the swivel wheel to go through the different options if you want to. The only problem with that though is that it's a bit awkward to get at because this gear lever's in the way. Same too with this volume button, which is there. It's like right behind the gear lever, so it's quite hard to use. So you're never really going to do that. You'll just use the one on the steering wheel. Now, I like the fact that you've got some physical controls for the temperature and the fan, and actually as you move down, so other buttons, they click when you press them, even though they aren't physical buttons, so you can tell that you're hitting the right place when you're driving along. Now, for more information on this car's infotainment system, click on the pop-out banner just up there on the top right hand corner of the screen to go to our website to see more about that and find out a bit more about the interior of this car, such as the equipment you get as standard. For instance, you get things like LED headlamps, 19-inch alloy wheels, and all-round parking sensors. They come as standard. And really, this is quite a well-equipped car, but then there's some stuff that's missing. For instance, you have to pay extra if you want a reversing camera. You have to pay extra if you want heated seats. You have to pay extra if you want this full leather interior. And I do think you should pay extra for that. It's £2,500, but it's well worth it because it makes this feel like a real premium car. Leather on the dash is lovely. You've got leather up here. There's leather on the grab handles. There's leather everywhere, and it's just great. And that brings me on to the quality of this car. This thing is just a glorious machine inside, really well built. Everything is super solid. Look, I can shake the entire car using these grab handles, yet this center console will not move, and every single material pretty much is absolutely gorgeous to touch. I love the fact that these paddle shifters for the automatic gearbox are solid aluminium. The sun visor feels expensive, and the way that slides, it's damped and it feels solid. And look, you've even got a two-piece sun visor there, so it doesn't matter when the sun moves around when you're driving, you're absolutely fine. The sun moves around. I mean, the car moves around, the sun obviously stays in the same place. Right, yeah, it's really hard to find a cheap bit of trim in here, though I have found one little piece. just here. It's a little bit of plastic, which is where the light is when you unlock the car. But that's it. It all feels absolutely gorgeous. I mean, there's even soft touch here on the door bins, and they're lined with felt. And the door bins are huge. Look, I can fit my big tea flask in there, which is great. There's some more storage under the centre armrest. It's not the biggest space, but there is a specific place where you can rest your mobile phone if you don't want it to distract you when you're driving. And you've got some USB inputs there. Now, if you do want your phone to distract you, you can actually put it in this cubby here, because I can't see any other reason for using it other than this. Now, you've got 2 cup holders there, and they are deep enough to, look, once again, hold my flask, and there's a 12-volt socket as well. As for the glove box, it's only all right. But yeah, overall, the front of this car is brilliant. Now let's move on to the back seats. One of the things I like about this Cayenne is that the height is just about right for me to sit in. I don't have to step up like I do in some SUVs. I don't have to flop down like I do in a smaller car. The door opening is wide enough for even wide people to get in, and look, I've got absolutely loads of room. Knee room is incredible. Also, because the front seats are actually raised up, even when they're in the lowest position, you can fit your feet underneath them, so look, you can stretch out. Plus, you can also recline the back seats and slide them forward if you want to maximise boot space. Look, even then I've still got an all right amount of knee room. Now this is standard, this feature, whereas on an Audi Q8, if you want the sliding rear seats, you have to pay extra for them, but not here, which is good. Now if you want to carry larger items and people, you can fold down this centre seat individually, and then you've got some through loading there. Now you can also fold this down and use the armrest. The only problem is, because these cup holders are fixed, you end up just putting your arm in them like that, and it's really uncomfortable. As for carrying through in the back, there is a bit of a hump in the floor, but it's not too much of a problem because the footwells are massive. Also, while this central seat is raised up, because the roofline is very high, I've still got a decent amount of headroom here in the middle row. And because the body is wide, the 2 outer people won't feel too squashed. So it is actually pretty decent for carrying 3 people in the back at once. If you need to carry a child seat, there's plenty of room to manoeuvre the seat here in the back. You've got to be careful though, not to lose these removable ISOFIX covers. You probably will lose them, so I better just put these back. Speaking of children, kids will actually like it back here because they've got big rear windows which you can get a great view out of. The only problem is that they don't go very far down. Well, I suppose that will stop the kids jumping out. But yeah, I'd find that a bit annoying. Another thing that's annoying is this. Look, you've got this little ledge here. It's not really deep enough to hold anything. Look, if I put my mobile phone there, look, it's going to fall out. I think that's there because this car doesn't have the full zone climate. If you have full zone climate, that's a digital display there to control the ventilation system back here. But no, this car doesn't have it, which seems a bit mean considering it's an £80,000 car with options, this thing, and there's this space here. Mind you, there's 2 charging points there, 2 USBs, and you've got another 12-volt socket there, another little storage ledge down there. This isn't so good though. Look, these storage nets do feel a little bit on the cheap side, and they're not that big, so they won't be great for storing stuff. Can't complain about the door bins though. Once again, they feel expensive on the outside. They've got felt lining to them, and I'll just grab my flask. They are plenty big enough. And speaking of quality, look at this, that grab handle. Look how expensively damp that is. And I like the fact the rear reading light is very bright, and it's a little LED, and the rear door handles solid metal. Feels expensive. Now let's check out the boot on this car. So the Porsche Cayenne's boot is absolutely massive. Obviously you get an electric tailgate because you don't have to be lifting it, do you? You know, you bought a Porsche. And the size of it is huge. And I should point out that the E-Hybrid, its boot is 20% smaller than the normal Cayennes, but it's no problem because it's still bigger than that of an Audi Q8 or a Range Rover Sport, and it's a really nice, useful boot anyway. Look, you've got this scuff plate here with no load lip, so you can just slide things out without worrying about scratching your paintwork. Then there's loads of like places to store stuff here, such as this net. You've got some tie-down hooks there, and blimey, they feel expensive. Actually, I want to show you this, look. So to get at the rear lights, you have to remove this panel. But look at this, you have this extra padding for soundproofing, even on this cover. You know, this car is so well engineered. It's very, very impressive. There's another thing I really like about it. Look at this, parcel shelves can be a bit of a pain to remove, but this one has a special handle to make it dead easy. Look at that. I was a bit worried I was then going to prove myself wrong by making it really difficult to remove, but yeah, no problem at all. And I like the way you've got this, look, the warning triangle is just hidden away up there. Can you see that? Oh, isn't that clever? There is one thing that does annoy me though, it's the fact that I can't lower the rear seats here from the boot. In many other cars you'll have some buttons to do that from here. No, you have to walk around and then do it from the very back. So I'll just fold them down, you'll see that they do feel solid and they lock down into place. They don't lie completely flat, but it's not too bad. And you do have a bit of a ridge here, but as you'll see, it's still easy to slide items straight to the front of the car. Now for more detail on this car's practicality, see how much you can fit in this boot, click up there on the pop-out banner to watch our detailed practicality video. You'll also be able to see how easy it is to fit a child seat and show what it's really like with 3 adults in the back.
Now then, it's time for the CarWow 5 annoying things about this car.
The gaudy acid green brake calipers and badging you get with this E-Hybrid model just looks like some kind of terrible aftermarket mod job. If you want to make the most of the E-Hybrid's plug-in capabilities, you'll need to carry around your charging cables with you, and as you can see, it's not really the most compact thing. And yeah, look, it takes up quite a bit of space in the boot. The car's doors don't quite extend low enough to cover the bottom part of the sill, so that when you get out, you do still end up rubbing the backs of your trousers on them, and if they're dirty like these ones, you get muck all over the back of your trousers. Ugh. Rather than have a normal starter button or a key, Porsche's gone for this weird paddly thing for the ignition. Looks a bit rubbish, really. It's a little bit inconsistent that the charging port cap is accessible when the car is unlocked, which is perfectly normal, yet what's not so normal is that the fuel filler cap isn't. You think it'd be the same? Instead you have to go all the way in here and press a button inside the door to open it. There you go.
Don't worry, there's still plenty to like about this car. Here's the CarWow 5 cool features.
It's really cool the way Porsche is written in 3D letters, and it's set behind the see-through panel, almost like a presentation case. But I really like this bit, look, the way the light bar extends across the full rear of the car. If you have the optional air suspension fitted, you can lower it down at the press of a button to make the load height lower, so it's easier to put things into the back. Ooh, me back. You can get the Cayenne with rear wheel steering, so the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction of the front wheels, a bit like on a forklift truck, to make it more manoeuvrable. Unfortunately, yeah, this car doesn't have it fitted, so I can't get round in one go. The Cayenne has special vents behind the grille, and they open when the engine needs cooling, but they remain shut for most of the time to help reduce drag and maximise economy. You can get a special Porsche app for your mobile phone, so you can control the car's heating remotely, so it's all nice and toasty in the winter when you get into the vehicle in the morning. You can get the Cayenne in 4 different flavours. There's the Cayenne Turbo, which has a 4-litre twin-turbo V8, and it's bonkers fast. You can also get a Cayenne S, which has a 2.9-litre V6 twin-turbo with 440 horsepower. You can get the normal Cayenne, which has a 340 horsepower 3-litre V6 turbo, or there's this hybrid. Now, it has an electric motor mated to that same 3-litre V6 turbo from the normal Cayenne, and combined you have 460 horsepower. And according to Porsche, it should be capable of 0 to 60 in just 4.7 seconds. Now, I've got my thumb in gear here. I'm going to launch the car, see what happens. Let's see what we get. Here we go. Launch control. Let's do it. Here we go. Yeah, it's dead quick. Really quick. Classic Porsche. I did it in 4.4 seconds, and it's quite a greasy surface as well. That is impressive. I'm actually blown away by how fast this thing is. I timed the £100,000 Cayenne Turbo from 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds, so there's hardly any difference. Yet this, it's supposed to replace the diesel, and it gives performance like that. It's incredible. Now, for that high-speed run, I had the car in Sport Plus mode, so everything's in maximum attack. You've got the engine always ready and running. You also have the electric motor prime for an added boost. Now, I can change it down to sports mode, which just slackens things off a little bit, and I can throttle it back again and put it into hybrid mode. Now, in this setting, it basically runs this car as efficiently as possible, so it's always deciding whether to use the engine, whether it should be using electric power, and a mix of the two to give you the best economy out of this car. So according to Porsche, this thing should do 83 miles per gallon, but if I actually go into this car's trip computer and look at the long-term average economy, which is over almost 800 miles, it's only doing 23 miles per gallon, which isn't very good. But that makes me believe that it's been used by a lot of motoring journalists who just haven't bothered to plug it in to charge it up. Because if you do plug it in and charge it up on a full battery, you can actually run it 25 miles on electric power alone. In fact, I can do that by putting the car into e-power mode, and then now it's just the electric motor. Now if I throw the throttle, it will give me the engine for maximum performance because it has to do that for safety reasons, but you can pretty much just drive along up to almost 90 miles an hour using the electric motor only. And if you use this thing properly, you know, you charge it at home before you go to work and you haven't got a long commute and you can charge at work, you can pretty much just drive this thing on an electric power. And really you do need to make the most of this system because the whole hybrid setup actually adds around 300 kilos of weight to the normal Porsche Cayenne if you compare it to the normal V6 or the V6S, and you do feel that way. This is supposed to be a sporty SUV, and generally the Cayenne is very sporty, very sharp to drive. This one though is a bit blunted because of that extra 300 kilos. You can feel it's just a bit more ponderous through the corners, and it doesn't feel quite so sporty or as agile. Still good though, still easily good enough, I think. Now, one thing to note with this car is that you can get it on optional air suspension. This car has it, and you should absolutely pay the extra for it, because otherwise all but the turbo has normal springs and it can just feel a little bit too firm for when you're driving around town. So if you have the air suspension, it's really good over bumps, and in town it's quite an easy car to drive, especially when you're just pootling along on electric power. In fact, you can press a button to hold your electric charge, so it will generally use the hybrid system to keep that battery at a certain level, so that when you get into town you can then just run on electric power, make sure you've got enough battery power to just do the whole bit in town without using the engine at all, and then it's really serene and relaxing. When you get out on the motorway and you're going at higher speed, it's still serene and relaxing. You do get more noise from the tyres than you do in something like an Audi Q8, and I think that car is still just a little bit more relaxing and more comfortable to travel in, but there's not much in it. But for most people, they're not going to care. They just want to cruise around in a Porsche that's comfy and gives decent economy, and this should do that. Unless, of course, you're a motoring journalist and haven't been using the plug-in hybrid system as well as you could do.